If we don't heal from our past, and by that I mean resolve our family issues, we're likely to repeat them, whether we want to or not. This video will help you ask and answer a very important question to move you and your most significant relationships to a place of greater relational health.
Coach Drew.
Andrew Blackwood here, also known as Coach Drew, registered psychotherapist and lover and facilitator of healthy relationships everywhere I go. All over the world, right now, this very moment, this very second, people are losing it. They're losing their cool. And I mean, that was me this morning. Why is that? I mean, it could be because you just didn't get a good night's sleep, but more often than not, it's because we have unresolved family stuff. In my last video, we talked about the importance of emotional wholeness and how we get there through labeling our emotions. If you hadn't had a chance to watch that video, be sure to take a look at it because today we're building on that foundation. Once we understand the importance of labeling our emotions, then we can move forward into the next phase, which is answering an important question. What are these emotions connected to? Because when we do that, then we can stop marrying our parents. I know, it sounds gross, but that's what we do. I mean, just when you thought you were free of your family entanglement, you go on into a new relationship and then you realize you married your mother or you're engaged to your father. Like, it's strange, but that's what we do. For those of you who aren't married, I encourage you, please watch this video very, very closely. The way I see family dynamics, they're kind of like a thermostat. We grow up in an environment, and whether that environment is abusive, it's healthy, it's comfortable and pleasant, whatever happens in there, that's what we call our family temperature. Because it's familial and it's familiar. So when we get into a relationship of any kind of significance, and when there's permanence and there's commitment, there's a level of intimacy that we reach to, and then automatically, it's like a flip gets switched and that dial gets sent back home. We go back home. It doesn't matter if you've left home for years. You come back home on Thanksgiving or Christmas, you feel like that 8-year-old all over again. You know what I'm talking about? That's the family thermostat. A young man that I know gave me permission to share this story, and it illustrates what we're talking about perfectly. He married the woman of his dreams. He was happy with her entirely. Well, I can't say entirely because there were moments where she would put her hand on his face, touching him just beautifully, gently, caressing his face. And he had a reaction to it. He was irritated. He was even repulsed. Now, this was a big concern for him because he didn't want to feel this way about his wife. And imagining this happening every day for the rest of his life, that was terrifying for him. So we talked about it, and he was already ahead of the game because he had identified how he was feeling. Now, what we did, we looked at what these emotions were connected to. We looked at how he was feeling in his body with this experience, and we traced it back to one particular person. Yes, his mom. His mom touched his face in the same way, the same exact way. It was just unreal, but that's exactly what was happening. Now, he was even more confused at this point because he had a great relationship with his mother. When we looked at it, it was about the family dynamic. He was the eldest sibling, and he lived in a single-parent home. He understood how it went. He filled the father role. He was co-parenting with his mom, and she would express her appreciation genuinely by putting her hand on his face and saying thank you, or whatever it was that she would say, or I love you. And what he realized in that moment, as we talked about it, was that moment of expression of care and affection was paired with something that he never really realized and he didn't really voice. He was robbed of aspects of his childhood. He didn't sign up for this. That's not what he wanted. He didn't have, at least for that period of life, the freedom that he wanted as a kid, as a teenager. So there was some unvoiced disappointment and anger. And that was fused with his mother's expression of care for him that in present day he re-experienced with his wife. Does that make sense? I know it can be confusing. I see it as complicated. Even when we understand it, it's complicated. We are complicated people. We're designed that way. That's why it's important to understand our emotions, because the body remembers. It's important to go back to this. Not that emotions are supposed to run our lives, because that's not how it works. But like I said, there's this emotional thermostat, this family thermostat that communicates to us. Now, it doesn't tell us what to do exactly, but it does tell us what to pay attention to. So, how did he resolve the situation? Well, he figured out what it was that he needed to forgive. And that's what we're going to do next in our next video. So if you haven't subscribed, be sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications so you know when I post that next video. It's gonna be all about where do we go after we figured out what these overreactions, what these emotions are telling us, what they're pointing to. Until then, leave me a comment, share with somebody who matters to you, and most importantly, continue to learn, heal, and grow.